my love to my father, and also get a little closer, especially at this moment of my life. So it wasn't quite autobiographical, but in some sort of way, there were some things happening in my personal life that I put inside the film that I wanted to tell my father. And so it was not, but it was a little as well.
Okay. Caio, anything you want to add as far as getting the actors together? What's your affiliation with Lucas? Have you worked together before?
No, actually, I knew Lucas from like because we had like some friends in common, but like we really start like knowing better each other after he invited me to direct his movie. So was a really nice experience to like direct this movie with Lucas and Mel, because Mel and I we studied together when we were young. So but we were like a long time ago we hadn't seen like each other, so it was really nice to have to work with those people and work with friendship, work with confidence. So I think like the result of the time of shooting and rehearsal, we could see it in the screen, because I like the result we had.
Okay. Well, for me, I noticed like in the middle when Leo's kind of wrestling after that party, uh, kind of with his conscience and how do I go about it, that kind of frantic montage of like exercising and cooking, and then he tells Carol, I've been up all night and here I've made a lasagna and we're gonna do a run through of how I'm gonna like, talk to my dad, was really like, it was just so well put together. Um, and the end when he just, when they finally have their moment together of disclosure and acceptance, I noticed, and maybe I was seeing a little too much into it, that it's on a balcony, and I kept thinking, well, they're airing things out. They're out in the open. Was that a particular reasoning for being on the balcony, or just better lighting?
I don't know. I think sometimes we didn't make like every choice, but I think we like we didn't make this choice very. We don't think really concrete about that, but I think we made because we knew something different has on it. So I think your point is the first time somebody told me that about the balcony, but I think it's a very important point, and now you were saying, I think it makes sense, and what I believe when I was shooting and decided to an open space.
It actually makes a lot of sense, because this is one of the only scenes that we have that it's actually happening on the outside.
Yeah.
Because all the rest, I guess it's the second scene, because the first one is when they're getting out of the party and they're walking through the streets. Yeah, they're walking on the streets, but then all the film basically happens on the inside. So then it makes a lot of sense what you're saying, and it's an
alignment with the secret to open.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful night out, probably stars. I wasn't really looking at that. I was focusing on the characters and the reactions. But yeah, that's my take, was airing it out on the balcony,
It's a beautiful point. It's actually very interesting.
Well, I'm glad I was able to contribute something to this.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
All right. So we'll just for continuity, we'll move along, and we have Robin Wang from The Gift of Winter is our next participant. Can you hear me, Robin? Hope there's not an issue.
No, I think Robin snuck away to grab a snack.
Oh, okay. We'll jump over to Perfectly Frank with Dan Hunt. And Dan, thanks for allowing us to air this not only once but twice, because you were in the Queer Lives, and you kind of run through the gamut of questions already. So mine might hopefully be a little different, but explain your film and your approach to it.
Sure. So Perfectly Frank is a short documentary, 11-minute documentary that explores aging in the gay community through a kind of a traditional portrait of an individual. And that individual is Frank Velarde, who is a retired accountant from Long Island. And he, after nearly 50 years of marriage, gets divorced from his wife and comes out at 65 years old. And the story is really is just kind of chronicling his life and his kind of seizing the moment at this new life that he has. Like, who in their life at 65 years old gets to become maybe something completely different. So he essentially moved from Long Island down to Fort Lauderdale, and then really changed his life up.
Yeah. Well, thank you, because you right there, you answered one of the questions I had was, what was his profession? Because he was so put together. And the film of him in the past dancing with his wife, he's impeccably dressed. And I kept thinking, well, maybe he was like a haberdasher or something in New York, a high-end clothing salesman, but accountant fits right in with that.
A very fussy accountant. And again, I love what he was for all those years is so traditional. I mean, the Long Island, the Italian from Long Island, and he's so very stereotypical Long Island, and married and had 2 kids and the whole 9 yards. Again, very, very, very traditional.
Was he a grandfather as well?
Yeah, grandfather as well.
I'm curious, what is your affiliation? How did you meet him? Do you know him through?
No, I don't know him. I've always, I was raised by my grandmother. So when I was a really little boy, my grandmother she was well into her 80s. So I've kind of grown up being enamored by old folks, and kind of infuriated by how invisible we become as we get older. My grandmother was a brilliant woman, but she was, number one, she was really old. Number 2, she was a woman. And number 3, she was also really small. She was like under 5 feet tall. So she would, and she was brilliant. She was kind of a hellraiser and really smart and self-taught. And she literally would open her mouth at times that people wouldn't even hear her. And as a little boy, I recognized this. So I'm really drawn to issues around aging. When I first started making films, my first films were not queer. They were more about preserving oral histories. So I did films about Prohibition in the 1950s. So as I'm getting older, I'm kind of coming back to those topics. I know this is a really long answer. So I wasn't actually planning on doing a film about aging in the gay community. I just finished a feature film last year that was about trans issues. So I followed a family for several years. It's a small family, 2 kids, both kids are transgender, about opposing experiences. So one's trans boy, trans girl. And I finished the film last summer, and I had vowed to myself I'm not doing another film. I'm done. I can't raise the money. It is aging me rapidly. It's getting too tough. So I had sworn off filmmaking altogether. I'm just going to focus on teaching. And I was walking by, I was in Wilton Manors, which is essentially Fort Lauderdale, going to get a cupcake or a slice of pizza or something. And I walked by this nightclub, and it's the middle of the afternoon on a Sunday, and the place is rocking out. Like there's boom boom, music and all this stuff. And I stick my head decide to put the cupcake or the pizza on hold, and I stick my head in the bar, and I look around, and it's the most gorgeous young bartenders and barbacks. I mean, everyone in there was 20-something years old and chiseled and muscular. And then I saw a sign for go-go dancers, and I kind of walked through the bar, and so I went by the dance floor area, and I'm thinking, geez, can you imagine if that's what the bartenders look like? Can you imagine what the go-go dancers look like? Yeah. And I walk in, and I look up, and I see Frank occupying the go-go booth, going wild, and people going crazy over him.
Yeah.
And what I was hoping to capture with the film, and what I was so drawn to, was essentially my reaction. So I'm in my mid-50s, so I'm pretty damn close. So my first reaction, I look up and I saw Frank, and I kind of like almost laughed because I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting a 20-something-year-old go-go boy. So I almost laughed, and then, or I think I probably did laugh a little bit. And then I felt really shitty for laughing. I was like, you ageist crap, like you know better than this. Why are you laughing? And then so it was kind of this like pull and tug kind of thing. And then I realized it was one of those moments where you realize where you are part of a really amazing community. It's like, why shouldn't Frank be up there? And isn't it frigging genius that this bar in this place at this moment, and he's there like multiple days a week, that he is occupying that space and he's revered. So I got really, really emotional about it. So I just like, I have to do, I was going to make a really short film, like a 4-minute, 5-minute film about him, but I just knew that I had to. And then meeting him and then hearing his story, I knew I just had to do a short film about him.
I like that at the end, the little montage of him dancing currently in the go-go set against him and his wife dancing. Because for me, strangely enough, in my early 20s, was a go-go dancer in a Boston nightclub. So he's giving me inspiration that, okay, when I maybe decide to retire, maybe there's something in it for me, but whatever.
So which bar did you dance at? I'm curious.
Man Ray in Cambridge.
Okay, I know.
Oh, you have Boston roots?
I'm from Boston, originally from Boston. Yeah.
So I like that also, that he gives his money to charity to St. Jude's was really like moving. That, you know, he's doing it for fun, but he's also giving back. This person just like didn't seem to stop giving, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he actually does. He takes those dollar bills, he deposits them in his bank, and he writes a check out once a month to St. Jude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's adorable and amazing.
And have you kept in touch with him? Hopefully, Howard is, yeah.
Oh yeah, we're friends forever. I love this man to death. He's still in Florida. He has COPD, so he's kind of right in the war zone for COVID. Yeah. So he's going a little bit crazy because he's just locked in, and he's a really active guy.
Yeah.
And he can't dance, obviously, because the bars are closed. So he's bummed out, but he's healthy and he's well.
Oh, good. And he knows this film has been in a couple of programs in Boston.
Yeah. I told him, and it's going to screen it in the Southern Florida, Miami. I can't remember the name of the festival, but it's the Miami and Fort Lauderdale.
Streaming much like this?
I guess it's Outshine.
Outshine, yeah. So it's screening.
So that's why I knew.
Have you guys screened there yet?
No, it will be screening, I guess, on the 26th or something like that.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
And he's seen the finished product. He's happy with it.
Yeah. He was really moved by it because originally when I approached him, it was going to be just a little bit more lighter and shorter, and then I asked him if his wife would be willing to be interviewed, and he was like, we were both like, oh, because you can see in the interview they love each other, but there's a lot of tension for sure.
Yeah.
And they had a really, really, really bad divorce.
Well, she points out on the linoleum floor how many dishes were broken when he came out to her. So that's evident there was some animosity, but there's still love there, you know?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Robin, you had stepped away. We're going kind of chronological from the film series. So thanks for being here. And if you could explain a little bit about your film and your intent.
Yeah, hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Oh, great. So The Gift of Winter was a film that I made a long time ago, actually. It was like almost a year and a half. And it was my last project as an undergrad at Duke University. So there were two inspirations for this film. One of them is that I always wanted to make a fairy tale that's explicitly gay. And that it's sort of the premise or the aesthetic approach to it. And I got the inspiration when I was taking a Shakespeare class in my junior year. We're studying one of his later plays called The Winter's Tale, which is a story about a loss and redemption and time, and how time wears a person over time, and then and the combat with loneliness, and I was an English major, and I read a lot of literature and fairy tales, and historically it's been homoerotic undertones in literature has been very sort of subtle, and And I think with you know, like with myself, I really sort of want to sort of expand and revisit that definition of especially how love is considered in the context of fairy tales, how we could redefine love with not just heteronormativity, but like with a more inclusive in terms of sexuality and representations. And the second inspiration for this film is that I had a professor of mine who is like a really close mentor, my screenwriting professor. He's gay. His partner passed away 20 years ago, and since then he's been suffering from depression, especially when he was sort of teaching me in that semester, and he has to listen to music, so just sort of as a source of relief, and he also sort of mentored me on this project. So I really want to sort of make something that sort of communicate this kind of feeling, and these two ideas sort of merge together and sort of lead to this film.
Okay. Well, thanks for your explanation, because for me, I got a sense of, like, when you were talking about the Shakespearean, I went another route. I went with a kind of more Gothic feel, and I was actually liking it, like Wuthering Heights, like Heathcliff and Catherine, you know, and then they eventually do go off together, and that kind of
right.
the
Yeah,
optimism.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, magic realism is like a really big sort of I guess like genre, like inspiration, sort of how everyone take it, like in the Wuthering Heights, the Gothic felt like, I guess, more of a thriller aspect of it. Whereas with the Winter's Tale, when Hermione came back in the end, and it was sort of as like a wonder, but also sort of like blurs the boundary, you know, whether this is real or whether this is fiction or figment of imaginations. And I think, and it comes to a question of, it doesn't matter in the end, because it's in the end, you know, clinging to the moment, and it's more of like while you can, clinging to the moment while you can. So that was sort of, you know, I guess the influence behind it.
Okay. Well, thank you. Oh, bug just flew by. So we'll move along to, we have Russell Brown with the 44 Scarves of Liza Minnelli. If you could explain a bit about the process of your film, its background.
Sure. I mean, what happened was there was this auction of Liza Minnelli's kind of life, all of the goods from her life that had been collected. It was 1,000 objects. And I was kind of flipping through it, and I got to the scarf section. And I just thought, like, aesthetically, it was so interesting to see these, like, all of these scarves that had different colors and shapes, and all had probably been in amazing different places. And so I kind of had the title, which was the 44 Scarves of Liza Minnelli, even though there were more than 44 scarves that were up at auction. And I just thought it'd be fun to send them to 43 people and to have each person make a different film using the scarf that somehow reflected an aspect of Liza.
Well, I liked it because it fit in, for my sense of purpose. You know, if this is a senior shorts program and it was going to be geared towards seniors, who better to have than like a living legend, you know, who's one generation away from another living legend. And I knew the appeal would be there, and I really liked your approach. I'm curious, from the time you mailed out the scarves, how long did it take people to actually put something together, get it back to you, and then for you to edit it?
Well, they had a deadline. So everyone had a month. And, you know, part of the fun of the movie was this kind of experiment. Like, I had no idea what I was going to get back. Like, it could have been just a complete disaster. And the idea of kind of telling her life story through the scarves didn't really happen until I started getting the films in. Because I thought it was actually going to be a musical. I thought I was going to get a lot of scarves blowing in the wind, and it was going to be kind of just a musical number.
With
as I got and as I got the films coming in, it just seemed like her life story was kind of emerging naturally. So I used that as the sort of structuring device for the movie.
And I'm kind of glad that didn't go linear, like scarf number 1, you know, etc. Because I didn't, you know, something like that, the audience would have been said, okay, scarf number 32 now, you know. I liked how it kind of flowed like a scarf, like in the wind, and each just kind of flowed into the next. And, you know, the portraits that were drawn of her, or photos or stories of her and Marilyn, you know, were really intriguing. I'm curious at this point, is Liza Minnelli herself aware of this? Has she seen this? And hopefully there's no rebuke from her estate. Or
I don't know if she's seen it. I mean,
Liza on your ass.
I don't want Liza coming after me. I mean, it's a very loving tribute to Liza, so I can't imagine she would be upset about it. I mean, one of the interesting things is I'm actually not like, I mean, I like Liza Minnelli, but I'm not like a crazy Liza fan. I mean, I'm a fan, but I'm not like, it didn't stem from an obsession with Liza. But what I thought was that there's something interesting about her as sort of a cultural figure and celebrity, because there are certain people who are like this, you know, they are accessed through so many different ways, you know, either with Liza Minnelli, you know, you could be a cabaret fan, you could be a Judy Garland fan, you could be a fan of, you know, when she was doing various television roles.
The Ring.
There's like a lot of different ways to get into her and to be interested in her. And I thought she's kind of unique as a celebrity in that
Or
way.
even Arrested Development. I mean, she made a comeback on that TV show. You know?
Right. Exactly. Arrested Development, or just her as sort of an activist. So I just thought it was interesting that was part of what was coming back when the films were coming back, was that everybody kind of had a different read on why she was important or interesting.
Yeah. Well, I liked it because last year, you know, 2019 was the 50th anniversary of Stonewall, and they purport that it started as a result of Judy Garland's funeral, et cetera, all culminating in the same time in New York. So, you know, we had that kind of, you know, homage last year. So this year, why not skip a generation, go right to Liza, you know? But it would be great if she would do some sort of like voiceover, you know, if you re-edit or something like, hey, I'm Liza, I approved this video.
Yeah, I mean, that could be fun. I don't know. I mean, part of me sort of, I don't know. I kind of like that I don't know what she thinks of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really want her approval or her disapproval. I just kind of, it's, I don't know. It doesn't really matter in a way.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad I was able to sequence it with the other films. So moving along, we have Erik Gernand. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that.
Yeah, Gernand. Yeah, hello.
Okay.
Hey, Joe.
Who is the director of Sundown? So if you
Yeah.
can explain your film. And
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Sundown is about a man in his 70s who is going through the early stages of dementia, and his childhood best friend comes back to visit him, but the best friend is still 18 years old. So the man has married, had a family. His wife has recently passed away, and as he's having these moments of sundowning, these moments of envisioning a different time in his life, he's remembering this friendship that he never was able to express his love of the friend, and that's what it's about.
okay. Well, I wasn't looking at my Grinder app. I was pulling up. I have the quote from the beginning of the film that explains the word sundowning. So if I could read it for the other filmmakers. Sundowning: confusion or wandering in late afternoon, affecting some people in the early stages of dementia. And I really loved how it started off with that, to give a sense of, you know, what we're about to encounter. For me, what I really enjoyed was that, you know, most films that are short, long, however, when they want to do kind of flashback, it's always black and white because things are a little hazy. I like, for me, my take was that you started in black and white because he might be currently a little bit hazy, and that his back story went right to color because sometimes memories are more vivid than the present. So that's what I thought maybe you were doing black and white current.
Yeah, no, I totally feel the same way. I think sometimes these things that are in our pasts do feel more vivid, more alive in a strange way. And yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. When I wrote the script and was thinking about production, it wasn't initially going to be black and white to color, but as I got to thinking about how to lead up to that moment of the kiss everything was building to this moment when he finally is able to kiss his best friend, that I just felt like it had to be color and black and white. And then I worked with our DP to figure out how to best achieve that.
Yeah. Well, it was a great depiction, if you know, of how I saw it, and now that you kind of explained that.
Good.
For it. What I really enjoyed was kind of at the end when he's finally disclosing to his granddaughter.
Yeah.
You know, he's about to tell her the story,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and right before he does, I wrote down the huge sigh of relief and the joy that he shows on his face,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and because we've all had that, like when in
Yeah.
coming out or in other instances, that weight off your shoulder, you know, the moment of being able to exhale.
Yeah, that was the moment I was most worried about when I was going through casting to make sure that we had a grandfather and granddaughter who could push to that moment, because we never get the full release, but we get the sense that he's about to for the first time in his life tell this story, and she has created a space for him to do it. And I just want to leave us right at that moment before we do. And so I was very, I felt great about who we got to be in that, but that was a moment I was definitely worried about the entirety of production. Can we get there? Because I knew if it didn't land, it would all be flat.
Well, and she herself is a lesbian, because he's talking
Mm-hmm.
about her
Yep.
relationship with her partner.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps maybe for the sense of, you know, his first time to be able to do it, it was more comfortable with somebody who
Yep.
knew, had gone through it, because maybe at some point the reverse had happened. She had gone to him and said, you know, Grandpa, you know, I'm with a woman, and
Yep.
so.
Yeah, that was my to construct her as an ally, both a lesbian herself, but someone who he knew was an ally, gave him that space to open up to her in a way he probably couldn't to his daughter, or ever could to his wife, or really anyone else in his life.
Yeah, I had a instance like that myself. I mean, being older, and my nieces and nephews, last year I was finally able to come out to them, and they all took it well. One even said, well, we kind of knew, you know, you're never with anybody, and you talk about your cat more than you do any girlfriend. So it was only a matter of time. But there is, you know, even at certain ages in our development, sometimes that gets a little tougher to disclose. I don't necessarily talk about it at work, because maybe people know, maybe they don't, but it doesn't affect my job. It doesn't affect my creativity, my sense of purpose, you know.
Yeah.
So when do you pull back? When do you not disclose it? And currently, the older community, there is kind of not a phenomenon, but people who are in older assisted living and whatever, they're having to unfortunately go back into the closet because of healthcare, because of facilities, and you know, so there is almost you know, you've gone so far, now you have to go back, you know, which is unfortunate. So that series is to really highlight and show that there's nothing wrong with being LGBT and being both. You
That's
know?
great. That's great.
So I'd like to open it up. I'm hoping that all of you, Caio and Lucas, you said you saw a few, but Dan, Erik, Robin, and Russell, were you able to see the series in completion online? And do you have any questions or comments for any of the other filmmakers? Hello? So, well, I'll, just by show of hands, who saw the series, short series program?
I saw almost all of them.
But the senior moments is what, so that way you have an idea of the other films that we're with.
I'm afraid I logged on today, and I was going to watch them this afternoon, and I realized I had missed the window, so I'm so sorry I didn't get to see them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, hopefully we got enough information from the other filmmakers. And, you know, I'm sorry I gave spoiler alerts away, because at this point, you know, I've seen them all. You know, the people who produced and directed the films, you obviously know the end. So I just thought we're all in agreement that, you know, we knew each other's stories. But if you have any questions for anybody based on what you've heard, or any other comments.
I have a question for Lucas. Lucas, how hard was it to, I mean, I can't even imagine being in front of the camera. So I'm just curious to hear what it was like to be a producer writer and then having to then jump in front and bring that character to life. And by the way, you were phenomenal.
Thank you, thank you. That's so kind of you. Thank you very much. I feel like I'm more an actor than a screenwriter and producer, and I feel like for the past years I have been producing a lot because I felt that it was the only or the most it was the way I found to actually act, you know, because there's a huge market and there are like a lot of actors trying to get in this business here in Brazil. So I felt like it was a way to tell my stories, which is something that you don't always manage to do when you're like cast into something. But also a way of having the chance to be in front of the camera and do what I love doing. So it was actually, this experience was really good because it was actually the first experience I actually had telling a story that I imagined, that I came up with, and producing it and actually telling the story as an actor. So it was a great experience, and I feel like I was also very fortunate because Caio was big partner, like working along with him and with Mel, which is also a huge friend of mine, was a very good experience. I feel like we had a lot of fun and we also trusted each other, which is something that for me as an actor is something that's really important. Like you have to, I feel like actors have to be on set and they have to trust the ones that are taking a look at them like behind the cameras. So if you have the possibility of working with a director that you trust or someone that you're friends with, so it's almost half of the way for having a good work and for making a good film or a good play. Because if you feel comfortable on set and you trust the ones that are like directing you, then you give what you have, like the best you can give. So it was a big experience. It was really fun. I'm also distributing the film right now, sending into festivals. So I've been learning a lot. So this is what I felt was the most important thing I took out of this experience.
Great. Just so you all know too, now you're considered alumni because you have been in our program. So any other projects that you have, please feel free to submit them and let us know, you know, what you might be working on. Is there anything, I know with, unfortunately with COVID, a lot of production is halted. Do any of you have anything that you were working on maybe beforehand or projects that might be coming out?
So we actually have so I have a new script that I wrote together with Mel again. So we were like repeating this partnership that was very successful for us. And Caio is also directing this new short. We were about to start shooting it when the whole pandemic started, so we didn't actually manage to shoot it yet, but we will be doing it as soon as the COVID-19 pandemic allows us, and let's pray that we already have this film for maybe next year's edition.
Okay, great. And like Sean had said earlier when he was speaking to you, you know, hopefully moving forward, we're going to have the opportunity to do a real-time festival. If not, you know, Zerb TV was great and, you know, helped us get it together almost at the last minute. So this format did work out for us. And personally, I was able to see more films this year than in any other years because I usually have to go from one venue to another. So to be able to be at home and to see them, I binge watched a lot of stuff from Friday night until yesterday afternoon. So I had a busy weekend of catching up and making sure I had, you know, seen enough that I was able to give some feedback when we do our wrap up at the end. There is a question, let's see, from Charles, who is hosting off camera. Did anyone see Suck Suck, Twilight's Kiss, a narrative feature about aging, senior housing, coming out later in life? And I didn't happen to see it. So Charles, I'm sorry, your question is going to go unanswered for now, unless you'd like to chime in and you have something to report on that film. But last year, there was so much to glean from that actually I was able to get some senior shorts put into other programs. And this year, that touch, that imprint of the older population was available this year too. We had a couple of documentaries that were about older LGBT. There was a narrative called Nobody about older Asian person. So it is out there. It's being able to like now give it a voice, give it a place, give it a venue, and celebrate it. You know, for years I was dreading turning 50. Now I'm like, okay, 60 is going to be no problem if I can. You know, if anyone saw the introduction film I made, I was in a swing on Sean's backyard. You know, so for an old coot to get up on a swing and like talk about the film series, you know, there's nothing wrong with getting older. Enjoy it. Enjoy every moment. I did have another quote that I kind of gleaned from another film, if I can find it. Oh, it was from a short in, I think, Queer Lives program, Dan, that you were in, about a artist, Nice Chinese Girls Don't, with Kitty Sue. And she kept repeating almost as a mantra. She was a poet, and she was doing kind of a, you know, a lyrical poetry while slides of her life were in the background, and you know, but she kept saying, we grow old with age and grace. We grow old with age and grace. We grow old with age and grace. And it was so beautiful, you know, and knowing that there is a venue, you are welcome at any time to submit to us. You know, we'll find some place to put you, but if you want to keep working on projects that do highlight older LGBT, I'll be here next year and looking forward to you. If any of you have any closing comments you'd like to make.
I just like to share because just because you pointed that out, we are also working in some sort of extension for After That Party. So we're turning it into a feature. So I guess in the coming year or in the 2 coming years, probably we'll be shooting that film. We hope to get the proper funding to do it, but there will be a feature really soon.
Well, that's good. Well, we look forward to that. And if you want to premiere with the Wicked Queer Film Festival, keep in touch.
That's very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
All right. If there's any other questions, or I don't see anything in the question field, people from Facebook Live are somewhere out there, but maybe they're being a little quiet. Well, I thank each and every one of you. You know, your films have touched me in a way that, you know, I couldn't express other than saying thank you and I love you all.
Thank you for having us here, and thank you for keeping the festival alive through this.
Well, you can thank Sean for that.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
He said thank you.
Great.
Here he comes.
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
All right, so have a good rest of the evening, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.